Hey, what's going on, all you ghouls and ghosts out there? My name is Mike Macabre, and welcome to the graveyard. As always, if you like what you see, like, subscribe, comment, share the video, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more of my videos or whatever else I'm doing on the channel. But on tonight's episode, we are doing something a little different. We are doing a Q&A session. These questions come to us by the ghouls and ghosts out there. They won't be in any particular order. I do apologize for uh, the amount of time it took to release this video. I've been very busy, and I am going to be continue to be very busy in the next couple of months. My wife is going to be having surgery in middle-ish of September, and we got to be planning my son's 5th birthday party. He was born September 11th. Um, the surgery will be like a week or two after that. I'm not exactly sure of the date. So I have a lot to do. After this Q&A, I'm also going to be putting some raw footage of my trip to the Kemper Center. For those of you who don't know what the Kemper Center is, the Kemper Center is haunted, and there has been a suicide from a nun in the lake, Michigan, that is right by this church that's been transported, um, have been turned into more of a historical site, and they also do the Halloween haunted houses there every year because of the lore of it being haunted, and also that ghost of the suicide nun as well. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But let's get to our first question, and this will be in no particular order. Our first question comes from Antimony Cup. He asks, "What prompted you to start a music channel?" That's quite a loaded question. I watch a lot of reaction videos myself, and it's something I was like, you know what, I can do that. You know, it seems fairly simple, something in my wheelhouse. I had a gaming channel before this one. It's kind of like my starter journey into doing YouTube videos, and I got comfortable being in front of the camera and talking to people and narration and so on and so forth. But I wanted to bring the music that I loved to the masses. I listened to a lot of different kinds of music. I noticed that a lot of the reaction videos or the people that do reactions are doing quite mainstream music, and a lot of the music that I happen to listen to is stuff from Europe: goth, electronica, trance, dance, EBM, EDM, uh, electro, industrial, metal. Uh, anyone who is accustomed to this channel know what kind of videos I do, and it was kind of a niche thing. I thought not too many people were doing it, at least that I saw. So I saw an opportunity, and here we are, growing every day. Absolutely love it. The next question comes from, excuse me, Ibera323. He asks, "When and why did you get into Ramstein?" Let's start with the when. All the way back in 1995, I was first introduced to Ramstein. The first album, Herzeleid, absolutely phenomenal record. Top to bottom, not a single bad song on it. If I had to be nitpicky, Der Meister is my least favorite of the album. I just kind of skip over it, but it's not bad. It's not Kusmish bad. Ugh. Ugh. Do not like that song. That is their absolute worst song. But my cousin had a father who was stationed in Germany in the mid 80s into the early 90s, and he came back in 1995. And with him, he brought all sorts of music, including Rammstein, There was this double CD called The Hard and the Heavy. Um, it had a compilation of all different kinds of bands from industrial, goth, EDM, electro, all that sort of stuff. And that was basically my first introduction to all this kind of music. Why did I get into Rammstein? Do I really need to say that? Honestly, it was so different than anything I've heard before. I went through a phase when I was, I want to say 6, 7, 8, maybe in a little later than that. I'm not quite sure. I was heavy into like gangster rap, Tupac, Biggie, and all that sort of music. And when I heard Rammstein doing what they did in a different language for my young American years, I wasn't trained for it. And it was just so raw, energetic, so hard. And it just gripped me and grabbed me right away. All right. This next question comes to us by Michael27EM, and he asks, what got you into horror and what is your favorite all-time horror film? Let's start with my favorite film of all time, Monster Squad. And the reason I started with this question is because my grandma Leipzig was the one who taught me German, and this is the first horror movie that I can remember absolutely being terrified of and loving at the same time. And as with her teaching me German, this movie also had a bunch of German parts in it, spoken German, very simple to learn, and it kind of gripped me because I looked up to my grandmother, which led into me loving horror. My Aunt Mimi, she had a son who was about 3 or 4 years older than myself, and he was big into horror as well. And she would watch me a lot when my mother was working and my parents were working. And basically, all she played was horror movies, all the slasher 80s, It, all the zombie movies from the 80s. There were some 90s horror that I just can't remember which ones they were. But if it was 80s, oh, Camp Sleepaway, that was another one that's been seared in my mind. Wasn't necessarily a lot of movies that I should have been watching, but I was watching them anyways. And, looking back, given the fact that I do, this channel for horror and music and all that, I think I should have done this sooner. It wasn't something that I ever thought doing, but here I am, and I'm glad that I have done it. This next question comes to us by Tone Rand Hansen. She asks, when did you start playing instruments, and what inspired you to start playing? Growing up, I listened to Metallica a lot of Ramstein as well, and just their stage presence and the things that they were doing on stage, being the center of attention. I was kind of the shy kid in school. I wrote poetry. I loved comedy, stand-up comedy, and just the thought of getting up on stage absolutely scared the living shit out of me. Um, but as I grew, I became more confident. I wanted to be, center stage, having my words and thoughts heard and appreciated. Being creative, I was always a creative person. Drawing, I was never really a good drawer, but I always just tried. My forte was always like lyrics and poetry, as I said. I dabbled a little bit in stand-up comedy. I didn't do too much other than open mic nights. I've done karaoke for Rammstein, different metal bands, Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne, and people seem to gravitate towards it, and I love doing it. And a part of that was playing instruments. The first instrument that I played was it was a classical instrument. I can't remember what it was. It was so long ago. I didn't play it for very long. I can tell you that. It was a horn. It wasn't a French horn. It escapes my mind. I played it for maybe like 2 or 3 months, and I just got bored with it. I started with guitar. I mostly stuck with guitar, and I fiddled around with drums, bass, and keyboards. I stick to guitar and drums when I was with my band. I did also a little keyboard work when I had my band as well. The only gig we ever had is when we opened up for Lemmy in Milwaukee at the Rave. And he was an absolutely amazing person. You wouldn't look at him and think that he was, down to earth, but he was. He was nice. We did our opening set for them. We went backstage, basically watched them perform, and they came off, and we went to the green room a little bit. They had their own green room. They invited us back, had some drinks, chatted a little bit. Absolutely amazing. A true legend. So I guess, when I was 12 to 13 is when I first started uh, instruments, and then that grew into guitar, as I said. But I think that's going to be it for this Q&A session. Again, right after this, I will have the Kemper Center video for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. But as always, ghouls and ghosts, stay scared.